What is going on, everybody? This is Mike from the Last Corvette. This video is for Joy Rock. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. This has to do with one of the videos that I did about C6 fuel system troubleshoot and whatnot. I posted a bunch of them now. And this person replied back and kind of gave me, 3 or 4 things that they did to kind of troubleshoot. Now, number one is this. I need to know, if you're watching this video, because I'm making it for you, you need to reply back and tell me if the condition that you're seeing as far as rough idle, surging, you said it's low fuel specific, meaning that is it half a tank, quarter tank, like the light is on, or is it 3/4 of a tank, right? There's 2 tanks in this vehicle. I assume you know this. So I kind of need to know that. Now, the next thing that you need to do is you need to get under the vehicle and inspect your fuel tanks, look for obvious leaks from inside and outside, evap lines, obviously the flex pipe or the crossover pipe. And then from there, you need to scan your vehicle. You're going to be shocked and amazed when it comes to older Fords and GM. You might be having all these issues and no check engine light, but when you actually scan your vehicle, you might bring up some codes. We'll get into that in a second. Now, the fuel pressure numbers that you gave me are like spot on. They're in spec. The only thing that bothers me is it sounds like when you did this test, the vehicle was static, meaning that you primed the fuel pump only. When you're checking for fuel pressure, you definitely want to check while the vehicle is running. And idle, low idle, you want to see if the fuel pressure is actually maintained. So 58 PSI is like right where you want to be, 55 to 58 on the stock pump, with a little bit of wear, let's say. That's nothing wrong with the fuel pressure. Now, if you're idling the vehicle and you start to see 58, 48, or 58, 50, and it's kind of just bouncing all over the place, that's a concern that you're losing fuel somewhere. It could be the fuel pump itself, or it could be somewhere within the fuel system. When you said that during shutdown you saw like 52, then 48, and then 30, and then 0, that's also totally normal. So there is no we'll say one-way check valve or a flow valve. Everything just flows right back into the fuel system, meaning that your fuel rail will deplete the fuel. That's why you prime. There's a prime cycle before you actually start the vehicle. Most vehicles are like that. The fuel check valve itself on some vehicles are actually built into the fuel pump. There's no more check valves in the fuel lines themselves, because they used to put those in, but it's, well, very dangerous, as we found out over the years. So it's very, very normal if you let the vehicle sit, let's say overnight, you come back and there's like no fuel pressure in your fuel rail. That's normal. And what you're seeing is a gradual drop in fuel pressure, which is also normal. But 58 PSI on prime is also in spec. You just need to kind of concentrate and focus in on the vehicle running. And then if it idles at 58 PSI, then give it some throttle. You don't need to put it under load. Leave it in neutral on the e-brake or in park if it's an automatic, and just kind of work the RPMs. Not hard, 3,000-4,000 RPM at idle, and kind of hold it there and see if the fuel pump is basically keeping up, if it's still outputting 50, 58 PSI. If you see a fluctuation of plus or minus 2, even plus or minus 5 PSI, that's also normal. You just don't want to see, double-digit jumps, especially towards the lower side or the negative. So that's really it. Now, the other thing that I'm going to kind of close this out, and I'll wait for your responses. I'm going to check my other phone just to make sure that I covered all the bases. Let's see. So yeah, 58, then to 52, then 30, after 35 minutes drops to 32 PSI. And then in a few hours, nothing. So I explained that. That's good. Now, when it comes to surging, idling, rough idle, misfire, like I said, codes are important. That's why I'm getting back to scanning your vehicle. You could have a possibility of, a bad O2 sensor. O2 sensors can play all kinds of electrical gremlins if you don't have the right tools to actually, scan them and see the lower trim fuel levels or short trims. So on Any car, when you're at cold start and idle, what's controlling your fuel and air is actually your O2 sensor, okay? When you get going and get driving, and let's say when you get under load, let's say you're going 20, 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, you get on the vehicle and there's no bucking or surging, that is a very dead giveaway that, let's say, your fuel system, your ignition system is good. It has something to do with your O2 or maybe even the tune. But I would start with this. I would scan the vehicle to see if all the parameters are within normal range. Number two, I would also pull out a couple of your spark plugs from each bank and see how they look. Do they look rich? Normally, if you find a bank that, let's say you pull out your driver's side bank, bank one, and you look at the spark plugs, they're normal, they're, have a little bit of buildup on them. But you pull out your bank two, the passenger side, and they're just like black. That usually, could be either air leak, like an intake manifold leak, O2 sensor going out or bad, and then goes from there. It could be engine or head gaskets or valve covers, whatever. But normally it's intake manifold, air, and then obviously the O2 sensor. So that's where I would start, is scan O2 sensor, and then from like the last point of view, my point of view anyway, if you're always at the low, switch gas stations. Maybe you're just sucking up a lot of bad fuel, meaning that all the fuel settles towards the bottom of the tank. It always settles to the bottom. So as you get closer to, let's say, empty, you're sucking in water mixed with fuel, and it's definitely not going to make the vehicle run any better. So anyway, reply to the video and let me know, and I'll try to guide you and hopefully troubleshoot this thing.